All right, today we are going to tear down and rebuild one of the most fundamental ideas in all of SEO and content strategy. We're talking about a model that chances are you use every single day. And we're going to explore a new way of thinking about why people search online, one that's a lot more human.
So let's just jump right in with a huge question. For years, our entire industry has been obsessed with search intent. We build our strategies on it, we write our content for it, we measure our success by it. But what if that's not the whole story? What if it's just the tip of the iceberg and there's this deep, emotional current underneath that we've been completely ignoring?
Now look, let's be fair. The search intent model has been a game changer for us. It gave us all a shared language, right? It was our first real attempt to get inside the why behind what someone types into a search box. It's been the bedrock of modern SEO for a good reason.
And we all know these four by heart, don't we? You've got navigational, just take me to Wikipedia. Informational, I need to learn something. Commercial, you're kicking the tires, doing your research. And finally, transactional, you've got your wallet out, ready to buy. It's simple, it's clean, and it's pretty easy to sort things into these buckets.
And that simplicity, that's its superpower. It's what allowed us and Google's own raters to make some sense out of the chaos of billions of daily searches. But, and this is the big but, what if that same simplicity is also its greatest flaw? Is it really capturing the messy, complicated reality of a human being looking for answers? And that gets us right to the core of the problem. When we only focus on the goal of a search, we're basically treating our users like robots. We're taking this flat, one-dimensional picture of what is actually a rich, three-dimensional human experience. You know, this quote from Alexander Rodriguez Silva, whose work we're digging into today, just nails it. We're focused on the intention, but we're totally overlooking all the subjective aspects. You know, the feelings, the doubts, the frustrations that are actually driving the whole process. And get this. 371. That is the number of times the word intent shows up in Google's own quality rater guidelines. And you know what's wild? They never actually define it. We have built an entire industry on top of a concept that the people who started it all never even formally explained. Because here's the thing. A search doesn't actually start with a neat and tidy intent. It starts with something much more raw. A researcher named Brenda Dervin called it a cognitive gap way back in 1983. It's that feeling of unease, of uncertainty, right? It's that moment you realize, I don't know enough to solve this. That's what makes you go to Google.
So, if our current model is broken, where do we find a better one? Well, it turns out the answer has been hiding in plain sight, in a field that's been studying this stuff for decades. Library and Information Science.
And that leads me to introduce the work of Carol Kuhlthau. She's basically a legend in her field, and her research gives us a way richer, more complete picture of how people actually find information. She developed a model that just blows simple intent out of the water.
And here it is. This is Kuhlthau's information search process model. Now, just look at this thing. It maps the user's journey across three lanes: what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and what they're doing. And that first column, that's the magic right there. Uncertainty, confusion, frustration, confidence. These are the powerful human emotions that our old intent model just completely ignores.
And this is the absolute key insight from all of her work. The search process doesn't kick off with a clear, defined intent. It kicks off with a feeling of uncertainty. And just shifting our perspective to that one simple idea, well, it changes absolutely everything about how we should be creating content.
Okay, I can already hear you thinking, this is really interesting academic stuff, but how do I actually use it? How does this help me on Monday morning? So let's do that. Let's turn this theory into a practical, actionable framework you can use for your web content.
So Alexander Rodriguez Silva did us a huge favor. He adapted Kuhlthau's big model into a simple three-stage process that's just perfect for the web. First up is initiation. The user feels uncertain, they're just trying to get their bearings. Then comes exploration. They're diving deeper, but they might be getting confused by all the conflicting info out there. And finally, collection.
Their confidence is growing, and they're starting to zero in on the specific answers they need.
And this framework really connects all the dots for us. It tells us that for each stage, there's a negative feeling our content has to solve. In initiation, when your user feels uncertain, your content's job is to provide recognition, to make them feel seen and understood. During exploration, to fight their confusion, you need to provide specificity. And in the final collection stage, to help them overcome that last bit of doubt, your content must deliver pure relevance. So what does this mean for our day-to-day work? Well, it means we should change the very first document we create, the content brief. Instead of just listing some keywords and a target intent, we can start building our briefs around the user's actual emotional and mental state. We're putting feelings first.
So here it is, a new kind of content brief. It's like a formula. We're going to create content that provides a specific resolution. It should prompt the right tasks related to what the user is doing, and its main goal is to reduce the negative feelings of visitors who are at a specific stage of their journey. It's a total shift away from just target this keyword.
Let's plug in the details for someone in that first initiation stage. Our brief is no longer just informational intent, it's this. Create specific and targeted content that generates a feeling of recognition about the topic's background, aiming to reduce the uncertainty that our visitors feel. I mean, come on. Can you feel how much more powerful and empathetic that is?
So I want to leave you with this one last thought to chew on. As you go back to your content plans and your SEO strategies, ask yourself this. Is your content just a vending machine for facts? Does it just spit out an answer when someone puts in a query? Or is it an empathetic guide? Is it designed to meet your user exactly where they are, to acknowledge how they're feeling, and to truly resolve their uncertainty? The answer to that question might just change everything.